Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA56.
I want to say I'm very, very sorry for what occurred.
The former Power Ranger accused of killing his roommate with a sword speaks out for the first time.
Outrage around the world over the apparent brutal execution of a Jordanian pilot by ISIS. Tonight, President Obama vows to defeat the terror group.
And in the midst of the measles outbreak, can you sue the parents of an unvaccinated child if your kid gets the measles from them? Good evening. I'm Ruta Shabasi.
I'm Mark Brown. David and Colleen are off tonight. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. 3 days after the arrest of actor Ricardo Medina, no charges have been filed, and Medina is now free from jail. Today he spoke out for the first time since his arrest. Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth was there and has more on what Medina had to say.
After spending nearly 3 days behind bars for the death of his roommate, 36-year-old Ricardo Medina, one of the stars of Power Ranger Samurai, walked out of jail this afternoon. The district attorney's office deciding not to file charges against Medina, asking sheriff detectives to investigate further. Medina facing our camera and making an emotional statement.
I want to say I'm very sorry for what occurred. I'm very happy to be out of jail, and my heart goes out to the Sutter family. Thank you.
LA County Sheriff deputies arrested Medina Saturday for fatally stabbing Sutter at the home they shared in Palmdale. Medina claims it was self-defense, that he was initially assaulted by Sutter, and he and a female friend locked themselves in his bedroom following that altercation. Medina claims Sutter kicked open the door, and that's when Medina says he grabbed the sword to protect himself and his friend.
There simply aren't facts here for a crime. It is a self-defense case. It's been a self-defense case. You have an individual here that was the victim of a beating in the kitchen area before he went to the bedroom and closed and locked the door in order to secure himself from any continuing violence.
After learning that Medina was released from jail, Sutter's sister, Rachel Kennedy, told us that she was shocked. She was stunned. She says she never thought in a million years that could happen. Kennedy says she has been assured by investigators that the investigation into her brother's death continues. In Lancaster, Leo Stallworth, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Breaking news tonight, at least 6 people are dead, 12 others seriously injured after a commuter train slammed into an SUV in New York. Authorities say the crash happened about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The northbound train hit a Jeep Cherokee at a crossing about 20 miles north of New York City. The driver of the SUV was killed along with 5 people aboard the train. Authorities say the railroad crossing gates had come down on top of the Jeep, causing it to become stuck. About 400 train passengers were taken to a nearby gymnasium for shelter.
Tonight, Orange County officials are investigating what they call the suspicious death of a Mission Viejo woman. Authorities say a 911 call came in today just after noon. Deputies arrived and found the body of a woman in her 60s inside a home. They won't say how she died or if a weapon was found. Neighbors say a retired couple in their 60s live in the house. A man at the scene was detained. Neighbors say they're shocked.
Very strange. I would not have seen it coming from either one of them. You know, they're a very nice couple. Like I said, besides just the arguing here and there and the loud party noises at night, you know, they're just a normal couple.
Authorities have not released the identities of the victim or the man detained.
Rap mogul Suge Knight is rushed to the hospital after pleading not guilty to murder and attempted murder charges. He was accused of running over 2 men in Compton, killing one of them. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson is in downtown Los Angeles with the latest. Alex?
Well, Mark, Suge Knight was supposed to be here at Men's Central Jail right now, but at last update, the Sheriff's Department says that he is at a nearby hospital suffering from we don't exactly know, and the Sheriff's Department will not tell us exactly where he is.
Suge Knight is rushed to a local hospital complaining of chest pain soon after appearing inside a Compton courtroom. In court, he's stern-faced and pleads not guilty to murder and attempted murder. He's also been appointed a new attorney.
From what I understand, he was being attacked and trying to get away from that attack.
Last week, Knight visited the Compton set of a new film about the rap group NWA. Prosecutors say Knight got into a fight there and then intentionally ran over 55-year-old Terry Carter, killing him, then hit actor Cleabone Sloan, badly injuring him.
I think he's kind of in shock that he even survived.
Attorney Michael Shapiro represents Sloan, seen here in the film Training Day. He says Sloan's foot is badly damaged.
He's very, very concerned about his health and welfare. I mean, that could be his career.
Knight first became well known as Death Row Records CEO, working with rappers like Tupac Shakur. But he's no stranger to courtrooms. He could face life in prison if convicted, because this would be his third strike.
Suge Knight is due back in court on Monday. As for Terry Carter, funeral plans have now been announced. It is set for Saturday at noon at the First AME Church of Los Angeles. Reporting live from Men's Central Jail in downtown Los Angeles, Ellis Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Alex, thank you. The terror group ISIS has executed another hostage. Graphic new video surfaced of the Jordanian pilot allegedly being burned alive. Jordan has confirmed the death of 26-year-old Lieutenant Musa al-Qasasbeh. Hours later, President Obama met with Jordan's king at the White House and vowed to defeat the Islamic State group. The execution follows ISIS beheadings of 7 other hostages, 3 Americans, 2 British captives, and 2 Japanese citizens. ABC's Karen Travers reports from Washington, D.C.
In the hometown of Jordanian pilot Muas al-Qasasbeh, angry and emotional demonstrations after the news of his brutal murder. An undated video released by ISIS appears to show al-Qasasbeh wearing an orange jumpsuit, standing in an outdoor cage, and being burned alive. The 26-year-old pilot crashed his plane over Syria in December, the first pilot in the U.S.-led coalition to be taken hostage. Jordan's King Abdullah was in Washington and met with President Obama tonight at the White House. In a taped message that aired in Jordan, he condemned the killing and said al-Qasasbeh died defending his faith and his country. Just last week, ISIS called for a prisoner swap. The terror group released a video showing Japanese hostage Kenji Goto demanding that Jordan release an Iraqi woman convicted of terrorism there in exchange for the pilot. Jordan's government said it would cooperate, but with one big condition.
We want to see a proof of life.
But no proof was ever given, and a video was released over the weekend showing the beheading of the Japanese journalist. The Obama administration condemned the brutal murder of the Jordanian pilot.
It's just one more indication of the viciousness and barbarity of this organization.
The U.S. Embassy in Jordan advised Americans there to defer any non-essential travel tonight due to concerns of spontaneous demonstrations in major cities. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Tonight there's new information about a man who allegedly attacked 3 soldiers with a knife in Nice, France. Moussa Koulibaly was arrested along with a suspected accomplice after the attack in front of a Jewish community center. A French security official says Koulibaly had been sent home by Turkish authorities last week after flying in on a one-way ticket. French authorities were unable to turn up enough evidence against him to open a legal case. Turkey is a transit point for jihadis from Europe to join up with Islamic extremist groups fighting in Syria and Iraq.
Now to the latest on the measles outbreak. So far, there are more than 100 measles cases in more than a dozen states. The virus is spreading mostly among unvaccinated children because either their parents have decided against it or because they are too young to be immunized. We sat down with an expert to see if you can actually get in trouble with the law if you choose not to vaccinate your kids.
The measles outbreak has reignited the debate over immunizations. Parents like stay-at-home dad Chuck Dawson in Portland, Oregon, says he should have the right to choose.
That's their choice in being mad because I did not get all my kids shot. If my kid got sick, guess what? He would be home.
But what are the legal implications of refusing to vaccinate your children? Dr. Ryan Abbott is a medical doctor and a professor of law.
I'd say it's only a matter of time before one parent whose child is injured or even dies from getting measles decides to go after another parent in a civil suit.
Although Dr. Abbott says he does not know of a measles-related lawsuit so far, there have been lawsuits concerning the spread of other contagious diseases.
I think a case could certainly be made that failing to vaccinate your own child knowingly creates risk for other children, and as such, a failure to take that step of reasonable care could lead to liability.
But there are many factors involved, such as religious beliefs that forbid vaccinations and...
California does have the ability for parents to make a conscientious objection, not based on religious belief, to refuse to vaccinate their children. But again, the court would have to deal with the policy of whether or not we want to permit parents not only to put their own children at risk, but also to put others' children at risk.
And Dr. Abbott says a good faith effort to do the right thing usually isn't a good defense.
When people act carelessly, even if they legitimately believe they're making the right decision, they can still be liable for it.
Causation would be another factor in a personal injury lawsuit, but Dr. Abbott says modern epidemiology would probably allow experts to trace the source fairly easily.
At least 24 windows have been shattered in a vandalism spree in Long Beach. Suspects can be heard firing shots at the windows in some surveillance video. Now the hunt is on for the people who did this. Police say more than 25 reports came in last night about 3 people in a car shooting a BB gun at storefronts and car windows.
I saw one car just basically going semi-fast, but I just kept hearing blah, 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 and then the alarms just following suit after that.
Luckily, nobody was hurt in all of this. Police say the vandals were riding in a 1990s 4-door Honda or BMW, either black or dark blue, with a spoiler and a chrome tailpipe. Police are also looking into whether this is connected to last week's similar vandalism spree in Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, and Torrance. If you have any information on who might have done this, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS.
Pretty nice weather out there once again. Let's get a check now at our forecast with Jonathan Novak.
Hot weather. We had record temps today, at least in one spot, 80s in many spots, and beautiful images on that Angeles National Forest sunset. We had a few high clouds streaming on in over high pressure, which got us into the 80s from Woodland Hills to Temecula, Santa Clarita, and Riverside, and got us to a record 72 in Lancaster. Yeah, how about that? We've got more heat on the way for tonight. Mild, it's warm, I would say, in Santa Clarita, mid-70s. 64 Ontario, 60 at Long Beach to downtown Los Angeles, 66 Ojai, and over in Palm Springs, hanging on at 71 degrees. So high pressure will be our weather maker for the short term. I'll tell you how warm it gets and when the rain chances come back into play in your 7-day forecast in a few minutes.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. Up next, a store owner fires back after a robber shoots him in his establishment.
It's all caught on camera while the owner says all is forgiven.
Plus, a chainsaw-wielding man goes on the attack against a family. We'll show you what happened next.
A special surprise for those who love to read. The book no one thought would ever be written is about to be released. I'm George Pinocchio. That's in tonight's Hollywood Wrap. Plus, an Oscar nominee could be joining a galaxy far, far away. And it's good news for everyone with Frozen fever. The return of Anna and Elsa coming up.
We're getting a look at a wild shootout in a Phoenix jewelry store. This is from last year. The woman in the red hat pulls out a gun on the owner. When he refuses to hand over his cash, she shoots him in the leg. He throws some money at her, but then as she scrambles after it, he pulls out a gun and starts firing at her. Both of them were hit and seriously wounded, but survived. Incredibly, he now says he's forgiven her.
I forget it was the same day. I didn't even keep it nothing, you know, because everybody makes mistake in this life. Nobody's angel here, you know.
Wow. Just yesterday, the woman pleaded guilty to multiple charges. As for the store owner, he says he was tired of getting robbed and closed down the shop.
Some frightening moments for a family in Oklahoma City. They were confronted by a robber with a chainsaw. Surveillance cameras at a gas station captured the incident. One of the victims says the man repeatedly lunged at them with the chainsaw. He demanded money and then threatened to kill them. The family was able to get in their car and drive away. Nobody was hurt. Police later arrested the man when he tried to kick in the back door of a nearby house. Californians have gotten the message. A year ago, Governor Brown asked everybody to cut their water use by 20%. And today, for the first time, the State Water Board says we have done it. In fact, water use was cut by 22% in December. Of course, there is a caveat. We finally had a little rain in December, so people may not have felt the need to water their lawns so much. Either way, officials say the drought is far from over, and we all still need to conserve. The Sierra snowpack, which provides nearly a third of California's water, is 88% lower than normal.
Definitely could use the rain.
I know we could. In fact, I mean, it doesn't look like we've got any in the short term that would be anywhere near significant to really help put even a good dent. We're not even talking about like a dent. We just needed we need something. And it doesn't look like it's in the extended forecast right now. I know. So looks like we might get through this season. We might need next season as well to help do some damage on that drought because it is still in that exceptional range, which is the high end. So for today, in the meantime, it was dry. See what's happening outside in our time-lapse imagery from Burbank. That's a beautiful shot, right? So look at the silver lining. We've got some nice images to show you from today's very, very, very warm weather. In fact, it was a record in Lancaster. We had 80s in the valley. We had 72 in downtown Los Angeles, and that is 4 degrees above the normal of 68. Right now it is 60 in downtown. Calm, beautiful, pleasant night for everybody. 66 in Ojai, Fraser Park 58, 56 Santa Barbara. These are your current temperatures. 64 Ontario and Fullerton's checking in at 61 degrees. Again, that is your current temperature right now. And for tomorrow, we're going to see a very similar day in terms of the temperatures and even the sky cover, the cloud cover, I should say, in the sky as well. Some morning cloud cover expected by the coast, and then afternoon, some thin high clouds coming around this, a ridge of high pressure that is keeping us warm, all right? As we know, that's what keeps the temperatures up. It keeps most of the clouds and rain away. What we need is for an area low pressure to bust through. It doesn't look like it's going to happen maybe toward the weekend. Some rain chances just skirting the northern edges of the area. And that's the best I can do for you in terms of any rain. Look here, you see, in fact, on Wednesday, all the way into Thursday and Friday, that ridge hangs on. Now, by Friday, it starts to flatten out a little bit. Saturday, we start bringing in a little bit more of an onshore flow. The clouds will increase. The winds will kick up a little bit. That's it. That's the biggest change in your forecast. So highs tomorrow. Enjoy this. 74 Los Angeles, 77 Covina and Glendale. Hey, guys, my mom sent me another picture back east in Boston, and she can't even get out the porch, the door. It's covered in snow. It's like up to here. It's crazy. So in the meantime, we've got 80 in San Bernardino tomorrow. 7-day forecast, LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. 77 on Thursday, mid-70s on Friday, and then the weekend, there's the change, 72. Not a big change, but it's there. Some clouds, mild, and then next week we got more of the same. Valley's IE, you're at 80 on Thursday, and a nice mild weekend ahead. Again, the clouds will be out a little bit more for the weekend. Until then, mostly sunny, some morning fog possible at the beach. 69 from Thursday on through about Sunday and Monday. The mountains, lower 60s, upper 50s, so a mild one for you as well. A few high clouds streaming in around that high pressure area. Same for you in the high desert. Looks like a nice forecast. Winds will kick up Friday through Sunday, and it looks like by next week we're kind of staying in that same pattern. And we're hoping for rain, guys, in this next 7 days. It doesn't look likely. I'm doing my best.
We appreciate the effort, Jonathan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In tonight's Hollywood Wrap, new movies in the works for 2 Oscar nominees.
Plus, things are heating up for fans of Frozen.
First, though, a highly anticipated new book, decades in the making. Here's George Finocchio with the details. George?
It's fair to say the literary world is abuzz with this one. Author Harper Lee is famous for writing just one book, the incomparable To Kill a Mockingbird. Well, it turns out she wrote a second, and now the reclusive author will publish a recently discovered novel, Go Set a Watchman. It was completed in the 1950s and it takes place 20 years after To Kill a Mockingbird. The book is set in the same fictional town and features familiar characters, including Scout and Atticus Finch. Oscar nominee Eddie Redmayne is being recognized for his work playing Stephen Hawking in the biopic The Theory of Everything. But this weekend, we'll see him in a very different type of film. He co-stars in the action-filled sci-fi thriller Jupiter Ascending. Last night, Eddie hit the red carpet along with fellow stars Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum.
I'm like a fan of sci-fi, from Star Wars to Spaceballs, all of it. I really do. I'd say it's one of the largest reasons why I did the movie.
It's like what I call Matrix Light. Let's be clear, it's not nearly as complicated and deep as Matrix, but it's great. It's very fun.
I made this just before we did Theory of Everything, and the difference between them, that's kind of an actor's dream, is to go from one extreme to another, and they couldn't be more different.
Eddie's Theory of Everything co-star is also making news. Fellow Oscar nominee Felicity Jones is looking at future plans. The Hollywood Reporter says Jones is in talks to star in a Star Wars spin-off movie. No plot details have yet been released. Finally, Disney animators have decided to let go of a few secrets for the upcoming Frozen follow-up. Here's a first look at some animation stills from Frozen Fever. It's a 7-minute short film that brings us a new story utilizing favorite characters. The co-director hinted at the plot, saying, "It's another side of Elsa the audience hasn't seen before, and we really hadn't played with in the original feature." And yes, there's a new song. Frozen Fever will be screened ahead of Disney's new Cinderella movie when it opens next month. And Disney is the parent company of ABC7. But I know the date that you're looking for, Ruta Bay, is mid-July. That's when the Mockingbird sequel
Yes,
will
I'm
come
super
out.
excited about that. Can't wait. All right, thanks, George. Well, a royal tell-all is rocking the UK.
What a new unauthorized biography about Prince Charles is saying about Britain's future king.
And a first look at the police report after Bobby Christina was pulled from a bathtub and rushed to a hospital.
A bombshell new book about Prince Charles is making headlines for shedding some unflattering light on the heir to the British throne. The author of the new biography, The Heart of a King, is claiming to spill secrets about Prince Charles and his household. It asserts Charles nearly backed out of his marriage to Diana on the eve of their wedding. It also paints him as both proud and jealous of his two sons and all the attention they're getting.
He looks at them with some rueful envy at the crowds that they draw. It is really hard to overstate how strange and isolating his existence is. I think because it's all he's ever known.
The book also says Charles is close to daughter-in-law Kate and delights in his grandson Prince George. It paints wife Camilla as a loyal asset who helps him laugh and put him at ease.
Members of an elite World War II strike force are honored in Washington today. Members of the 1st Special Service Force received congressional gold medals. The group was nicknamed the Devil's Brigade for its practice of wearing black boot polish during nighttime raids. The Montana-based unit included 900 men, each from the U.S. and Canada. Canadian leaders joined the ceremony today, where the men were praised for their role in saving the free world.
Coming up, we're updating the evening's top stories next at 7:30, including worldwide outrage after the murder of a Jordanian pilot by ISIS terrorists.
Plus, an ABC News exclusive, a news team on the ground in Syria where American airstrikes are targeting those terrorists.
And this man convicted of running a so-called revenge porn website, extorting people to pay money to have nude pictures of themselves taken down.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA56.
Our top story at 7:30, prosecutors will not file charges against a former Power Rangers actor who was arrested in the stabbing death of his roommate. Hello, I'm Mark Brown, in for David Ono.
And I'm Rutabaga Shabazi. David and Colleen are off tonight. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. The district attorney's office has decided not to file charges against Ricardo Medina, citing a lack of evidence. On Saturday, deputies arrested Medina, saying he stabbed Joshua Sutter with a sword after the two got in a fight. Today, Medina spoke out.
I want to say I'm very, very sorry for what occurred. I'm very happy to be out of jail, and my heart goes out to the Sutter family.
According to Medina's agent, he was acting in self-defense. Meantime, Sutter's sister tells Eyewitness News that she is shocked by the decision and says the investigation into her brother's death is not over.
This just in, government officials say Jordan has executed 2 prisoners after ISIS released graphic video of a Jordanian pilot being burned alive. Protests broke out earlier today as demonstrators marched toward the palace of King Abdullah II. They were stopped by police in riot gear. Jordan confirmed the death of 26-year-old Lieutenant Muat al-Kasaspe. The video shows him being burned alive while confined in a cage. Hours later, President Obama met with Jordan's king at the White House and vowed to defeat the Islamic State.
Now an ABC News exclusive. Inside an ISIS stronghold, the city of Kobani, Syria. 700 of the 2,000 coalition airstrikes targeted that town. Tonight it's deserted, just days after ISIS fighters fled and the U.S. declared victory. ABC's Alex Marquardt takes us inside.
Today we entered the gates of Kobani to get a rare look at the front lines of America's war against ISIS. This once bustling Syrian city now has craters 15 feet deep, unexploded shells scattered everywhere. This is what the aftermath of 4 months of heavy fighting looks like. Entire city blocks leveled to the ground, and all around destruction as far as the eye can see. The empty streets unnervingly quiet. Around some corners, the stench of death hanging in the air. Almost everyone except the Kurdish fighters who fought ISIS has fled. This woman and her family among the few holdouts calling on the world to see what ISIS has done. Those who didn't see the evil that took place will see it now, this girl says. This was a front line in the fighting, and the residents of this block strung up this sheet across the road so they could run past, preventing the ISIS snipers from seeing them. But you can see it's covered in bullet holes. We climb through the wall of this now deserted ISIS headquarters. Rooms covered in jihadi graffiti, sniper positions abandoned. The ISIS fighters set up this wall of sandbags, but left a couple holes so the snipers could fire out from here. But ISIS is now gone, and as local journalist Mustafa Muhammad Ali walked me through the eerie, post-apocalyptic landscape, he told me he sees victory amid the rubble.
Kobani sent a message for all the world. If you resist, you can win.
A feeling shared by many here, a hope in a shattered city. This city may now be quiet, but you can still hear the sounds of fighting all around just a few miles away. The new front lines against ISIS. They may have lost this battle, but the war continues. Alex Marquardt, ABC News, Kobani, Syria.
A telephone bomb threat led to an evacuation at MacArthur Park Elementary School in the Westlake district today. The telephone threat came in just before 10 a.m. School officials say they handled it like a fire drill, with students moved to a safe location. The LAPD, school police, and a canine unit searched the campus. They found nothing suspicious, and students were back in their classrooms by noon. A sheriff's deputy was injured today when his patrol car was involved in a serious crash. This happened in Diamond Bar, at the corner of Grand Avenue and Diamond Bar Boulevard. The deputy was answering a call when his patrol car collided with another vehicle. Both the deputy and the driver of the other car were taken to the hospital as a precaution. No official word on the extent of their injuries, and the circumstances of the crash are being investigated.
A man has been convicted of running a so-called revenge porn website, extorting people to pay money to have nude pictures of themselves taken down. It's the first ever conviction of a website operator under California's new revenge porn law. Eyewitness News reporter Melissa McBride has the story.
28-year-old Kevin Bollert went from website operator to convicted cyber criminal. A San Diego jury found him guilty of running a revenge porn website. He allowed nude photos to be posted anonymously on his site, YouGotPosted.com, without the victim's consent. Some of the photos came from ex-lovers. Other photos were hacked.
The brave witnesses who testified
and many thousands of other victims of his crimes described fearing for their lives, losing their jobs.
California Attorney General Kamala Harris says there were 10,000 nude photos on Bullard's computer. The photos on his site included the victims' full names, and that's not all.
The city in which they lived, their Facebook profile links, and other personal information. The photos appeared as top search results when victims' names were searched on Google.
In order to get their photos off the site, the victims were directed to Bullard's other website, ChangeMyReputation.com. Prosecutors say he charged the women up to $350 to get the photos removed. PayPal records show he earned $30,000 in extortion payments. Bullard's case is believed to be the country's first cyber exploitation case of its kind, and more will likely follow.
If you think that just because you're sitting behind a computer committing what is essentially a cowardly and criminal act, you will not be shielded from the law or jail.
When Kevin Bullard is sentenced, he faces up to 23 years in prison. The state will also recommend he pay restitution to his victims. In downtown Los Angeles, Melissa McBride, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Orange County prosecutors will not file charges against a homeowner who shot an intruder on Christmas morning. The DA's office says Nathaniel Blair acted in self-defense. Blair was surprised in his garage by a ski mask-wearing burglar who threw a pipe wrench at him, hitting him in the neck and jaw. Blair then ran upstairs and grabbed his 12-gauge shotgun.
Followed him out here, and I had my gun, and he tried to round the corner, and I shot him.
The homeowner believed he was acting in self-defense, and not just for himself, but for the other families in his neighborhood.
The intruder ran off but was later caught. 29-year-old Jeremy Bell has pleaded not guilty to felony burglary and assault charges.
A Massachusetts judge dismissed a juror today in the murder trial of former Patriots player Aaron Hernandez. The judge says there was credible evidence this juror had previously discussed the case and then lied on a form to get on the jury. Hernandez is accused of killing Odin Lloyd, a semi-professional football player who was dating his fiance's sister, Shanae Jenkins. Jenkins was on the stand today discussing the moment she learned her boyfriend was dead in a phone call from police.
Yes. Okay. Did you learn something at that time?
Yes.
And what did you learn?
That Odin was dead.
Jenkins also spoke about an encounter with Hernandez when he tried to comfort her that the pain of losing a loved one would get better with time. Hernandez faces life in prison if he's convicted of the murder.
Warren Sapp is due in court later this month after being released from an Arizona jail on assault and prostitution charges. He was released yesterday, but a judge ordered him not to have any weapons or contact with his alleged victims. Police say the 42-year-old Pro Football Hall of Famer had 2 escorts in his hotel room when an argument over money turned physical. They say Sapp admitted involvement in the act of prostitution, but denied assaulting the woman. Sapp was in Phoenix covering the Super Bowl for the NFL Network. The network says Sapp has been fired.
The police report about the circumstances that sent the daughter of the late Whitney Houston to the hospital was released today. Bobby Christina was found unresponsive in a bathtub, just like her legendary mother almost exactly 3 years ago. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez reports Bobby Christina has now been moved to another hospital.
Bobby Christina Brown still hospitalized after being moved from the medical center near Atlanta she was rushed to this weekend.
21-year-old female in the bathtub, face down, TVs en route.
The daughter of singers Bobby Brown and the late Whitney Houston found unresponsive in the bathtub of her home. The police report just released. In it, officers described what happened as a possible drowning. Police say Brown's husband, Nick Gordon, and a friend found her barely breathing, then started CPR. The circumstances striking an eerie similarity to her mother's death.
I need the paramedics. Apparently, you got a 46-year-old female found in the bathroom.
Whitney Houston died nearly 3 years ago after being found face down in a hotel bathtub. Days later, Bobby Christina was hospitalized for anxiety. Her father described her ongoing struggle with the loss in this interview with Lifetime last month.
Some days are good, some days are bad, but for the most part, she remembers her mom in such a beautiful way.
The family of her famous mother thanks thanking fans for their prayers, saying in a statement, Bobby Christina is fighting for her life and is surrounded by immediate family.
The statement goes on to ask for privacy. The family is saying nothing about her condition or prognosis. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, New York. A groundbreaking ruling about so-called designer babies.
Babies in the UK could soon be created using the DNA of 3 people. The reasoning behind the decision.
Plus, the key to reversing the effects of aging could be in the blood, young blood. How it could revolutionize treatment for some debilitating conditions.
Record-breaking heat in Southern California. I'll tell you about that, how long the warm air will stick around, coming up in that 7-day forecast.
Lawmakers in England have taken the first step in allowing scientists to use controversial techniques to create 3-parent babies. The House of Commons passed a measure today allowing in vitro fertilizations using DNA from 3 different donors. These techniques make it possible to replace a mother's faulty mitochondrial DNA with the same material from a healthy donor. The child would technically have genes from 3 parents, but the third donor makes up less than 0.1% of the human genome. The procedure could help avoid inherited mitochondrial disorders.
It's a risk, but then again, not as much of a risk as trying to have a child naturally that may carry Lee's disease.
When you alter the genetic code, at this point, you alter the genetic code not just for that embryo, but for that embryo's children.
The United Kingdom's upper house has to approve the measure before it becomes law.
People are constantly searching for a new way to turn back the clock and stay young. Can science show us the way? Experts say new research suggests the secret to the fountain of youth could be in our blood. Here's health specialist Denise Sador.
What's the secret to staying young?
Oh, your mind, positive thinking.
Good genes. Not blue genes,
yeah.
but you know, the DNA genes.
Harvard stem cell researcher Amy Wager says it may be in the blood.
There's this sort of long-term communication that's happening through a number of different substances that are traveling in the blood and that are sort of telling different parts of the body how old you are.
Her team's research builds on a decade of studies showing younger blood has anti-aging effects on older mice, utilizing a technique dating back 150 years.
It's called parabiosis, and it involves basically conjoining the circulatory systems of 2 animals, kind of like you would imagine Siamese twins.
Studies show the young blood rejuvenates the heart, muscle, and brain activity in these older mice.
It appears not just to be a slowing of the accumulation of changes that occur with age, but an actual reversal of those changes.
Now, Wager's team believes a protein in the blood may be responsible for the effects known as growth differentiation factor 11, or GDF11.
We can add back this protein into animals who have already aged and restore function to them.
And that could pave the way for reversing the effects of age-related diseases like Alzheimer's.
Dr. Wagers is hoping to study the GDF11 protein in human trials within the next 3 years. And she's not alone. As I mentioned, another research team from Stanford just began a study looking at donated blood plasma from young people that was transfused into Alzheimer's patients. In the newsroom, Denise Tudor, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Is there any rain in the 7-day forecast? Jonathan Novak has his forecast up next.
And disgraced cyclist Lance Armstrong caught in another lie. The details coming up in sports. Welcome back. Jonathan joining us now with more heat and no rain.
There you go. That's it. Back to you. More heat, no rain. That's it, unfortunately. But in the meantime, I mean, it's pleasant. We had record temperatures today in Lancaster. So there you go.
Nice sunsets, at least.
Nice sunsets. Yeah. Smile, positive. Okay. Live at Doppler 7000 HD. We're looking at dry conditions, but there's some rain in the forecast. It's just to the north of us, and you know, when the rest of the state gets rain, it's still good. We're not the only ones in this drought situation. All of us in California have it. We just happen to be in a portion of the state that has the worst possible scenario in regard to drought. We're in exceptional drought. So we've got to break out of it. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But we'll take temperatures at least comfortable to, I'd say, warm and maybe even hot. Where Lancaster was 72 broke a record, lower 80s. Riverside, Santa Clarita, both at 83 today. That was your high. Temecula was 82. I mean, it was a hot one today. Tomorrow's about the same. As you go through the rest of your week here, it looks like it's going to be a very warm one. 66 Van Nuys at the moment. Temperatures around the area. Let's check in again and see what's happening here in Wrightwood. It's 51, 37, a mild Big Bear, 56 Riverside. Good evening to you. And Ontario, your latest temperature is 64. What we have in the atmosphere right now is what's called dirty ridge. Usually high pressure will keep all the clouds at bay, but sometimes we see some of these high clouds stream on in like they did today. And we'll have that same situation tomorrow, but no rain, not a lot of moisture. It's all kept at bay up to the north. This will be the case for a few days before the ridge starts to break down a bit toward the weekend. Watch Tuesday in through Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. You'll see that happen here. See how this arc will start to sort of flatten out here as we go through Friday and into Saturday. That's good. We're looking for some more clouds as a result. A little bit breezy in the high desert. Temperatures getting knocked down closer to average. That's your weekend. Until then, temperatures well above average, like this. 80 in Northridge tomorrow. 74 in Los Angeles. Lucky 7s from Encino to Glendale, Covina. 81 in the IE head to Riverside. 80 in San Bernardino. And 82 Lake Elsinore. Check out Palm Springs. 83 tomorrow for a high. So temperatures tomorrow are going to be very warm again. Very warm again on Thursday in your 7-day forecast. Here it is for LA Metro and Orange County, 77 on Thursday. We'll cool it down for the weekend, bring some clouds in as I showed you. And then once again next week, we're setting back up for another warm one. Temperatures back up closer to upper 70s to near 80. Valleys IE tomorrow and Thursday between 78 to 80 degrees and Friday. We'll cool it down for the weekend, bring some clouds in. Some morning fog, by the way, for you tomorrow and Thursday. Also for the beach area with temperatures in the upper 60s. It's going to be a mild forecast all the way into next week. A little bit cloudy for the weekend. And then the mountains, fantastic, 61. How about that? Sunny skies. A few clouds again as you go through Saturday and Sunday, but good stuff. And then high desert, you would see some breezes this weekend kicking in as that high shifts around, and temperatures are going to be in the upper 60s, lower 70s for a very pleasant, mild forecast. So no rain this go around. We're hoping maybe in the extended some things change up as we go through February. Back to you guys.
We sure are. Okay,
Yeah.
Jonathan, thank you. In the Kings' 2 Stanley Cup championship runs, they turned their good play in the second half of the season to move up the standings and carry the momentum into the postseason. The defending champs need another second-half surge just to get into playoff contention. Their Grammy trip started with a loss in Boston. Tonight, not much better in Washington. Scoreless with under 3 minutes to go in the first period. Troy Brouwer beats Jonathan Quick for a 1-0 lead. Second period, the Brouwer and the Capitals doubled their lead off the power play. Brouwer with his second goal of the game. The Kings tried to rally, outshooting Washington 14-6 in the third period. But Braden Holtby turned away all 27 shots he faced tonight. The Kings dropped their second straight. They are 9th in the West, 3 points back of Vancouver. The PGA Tour makes a big chunk of its money on advertising, and now a group of professional tour caddies want a piece of it for wearing bibs during competition. 81 caddies have filed a lawsuit in a United States District Court in California. In a 39-page document, plaintiffs in the suit say the PGA Tour made $50 million on these bibs during the 2013-14 PGA Tour season. The lawsuit says the caddies are made to serve as billboards to advertise at the direction of the PGA Tour for some of the most profitable companies in the world without compensation. The suit claims the caddies were coerced into wearing the bibs and calls the tour's actions reckless and malicious. Tell me if you've heard this before. Lance Armstrong caught in a lie to avoid national attention. This time, though, to make things worse, he let his girlfriend take the fall. The disgraced cyclist hit 2 parked cars after a night of partying in Aspen, but agreed to let his longtime girlfriend, Anna Hansen, take the blame. According to an Aspen police report, Hansen initially told officers she had been driving home from a party when she lost control on the icy roads and hit the cars. Hansen admitted she lied. She said she drove because Lance had a little bit to drink. Armstrong was cited for failing to report an accident and speeding.
The hunt is on for Godzilla. That's the name of a trained iguana brazenly stolen from a Southern California pet store. This story was brought to our attention by an ABC7 Eyewitness. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter has more on the owner's desperate plea to get her back.
A pet thief caught in action, captured on camera, kidnapping Godzilla. No, not that Godzilla. This Godzilla.
She's very loving. She's not going to bite you. She's not going to harm you.
Godzilla is a tame 7-year-old green iguana who's a star at Paramount Pet Enterprise and a treasured member of Holly Cepeda's family.
All the community knows our iguana. Godzilla is very loved by us and our customers. People stop by to see her, to check her out, to say hello to Godzilla.
She even has her own Instagram account. Yesterday afternoon, the suspect took Godzilla as she was sunning herself in her outdoor sanctuary in front of the store on Rosecrans. Every day she goes out on her own to soak up the sunshine from 11 to 3:30. But yesterday she never returned.
We were heartbroken. First I thought she made it in and she didn't quite make it to her bed, which is over there. And then we started looking at shelves, we started looking all over the place, and we were heartbroken to find out that someone would dare to take our Godzilla.
The brazen criminal was captured by the security cameras at the market next door. He uses the ATM, buys a bottle of water, and walks out, stopping to take Godzilla with him.
You could see the guy pick her up, and she scratched and she whooped him, but she still got into his car.
She says the suspect's vehicle appears to be a newer model silver or gray Dodge Charger. Godzilla's family is just praying the suspect will do the right thing.
To surrender her back. I mean, she's very valuable to our family, not money-wise, but just emotionally-wise. It's just heartbreaking. I really want her back.
The family has filed a police report, but they say the suspect can return Godzilla, no questions asked. They simply want her back home. If you have any information on Godzilla's whereabouts, you're urged to call authorities or call the store, Paramount Pet Enterprise. In Paramount, Leanne Suter, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
More news straight ahead here at 7:30 and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. A San Diego man who ran a so-called revenge porn website with sexually explicit photos of women gives a jailhouse interview tonight. What he's saying about his conviction and facing years in jail. And here's a sign of the times. How does a guy miss the fact that a humpback whale is cruising right next to his boat? These stories and all the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7.
Spaceport America will have to wait at least another year before rocketing tourists into space. Virgin Galactic, the spaceport's anchor tenant, had planned to send tourists into space from the southern New Mexico desert by now, but the crash of its Spaceship Two during an October test flight in the Mojave Desert halted those plans.
Everybody is, very disappointed that we were so close to having Virgin come, and as they are, I'm sure. But it will happen.
Spaceport America is expected to lose about $1.7 million a year from the Virgin Galactic delays. They're working with Hawthorne-based SpaceX to start rocket test launches this spring. And for now, the spaceport is relying on test flights and private payload rocket launches to bring in some money.
Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56. Law & Order SVU is next here on LA56.
Eyewitness News continues at 11 p.m. on ABC7 and anytime on ABC7.com. See you tomorrow night at 7 right here on LA56.